So good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on Talent Marketplaces 101. Your speakers today will be Dominic Holmes and Paul Arthur, who I will pass to introduce themselves after I've done the introduction and the agenda for the day. So what we're going to talk about, why are business leaders so interested in talent marketplaces? What are the key themes to make talent mobility work in your business, and what this looks like in practice? So looking inside the actual technology itself. We've got some QR codes throughout the presentation. So if you do want to have your cameras handy in case any of them appeal to you, do get them at the ready and we'll point them out as we go through. But with that, I will hand over to Paul maybe to introduce yourself, and then you can hand over to Dominic to get started.
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. So hello, everybody. I'm Paul Arthur. I am what's called a solution consultant here at Cornerstone. So my role really is to understand requirements of what individuals want their products like this to look like, and then to show that back to you in demonstrations and things like that. So my role today will be walking you through the products and giving you a bit of a real life feel for what it looks like. Dominic.
Thanks very much, Paul. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Dominic Holmes. I am a principal consultant with Cornerstone's TLAS practice. TLAS stands for Thought Leadership and Advisory Services. Basically, we are an in-house consultancy run by Cornerstone for the benefit of our customers in the marketplace. And really, we do one thing, help people leaders, talent leaders, maximize the return on investment they get from their spend on workforce development. So I'm going to start by picking up on the first of those questions today. Why are business leaders so interested in talent marketplaces? Well, in order to do that, I think we need to start by understanding a little bit about the business environment in which we're all operating today. And if we look at the key characteristics of that business agenda, there's 5 core themes. Next slide. And those 5 core themes are really summed up by they're all for me driven by the pace of innovation. It's the fastest it's ever been, and it's only going to get faster. Uncertainty's here to stay, and AI really is going to change everything. And a key point for me is what leading industry analysts are saying is each time we've had a major step forwards with technology like the Internet of Things and big data, each time it's taken less time for it to fundamentally change the market. So AI is going to happen, and it's going to happen really, really quickly. I think those first 3 mean that businesses are going to have to reinvent themselves to remain stable. And ultimately, the world of work is going to have to transform. 1, I think because it's going to become more complicated. 2, it's going to change itself much more frequently. And 3rd, employees have new expectations for what that world of work is going to be about. So if we look at what that means in terms of how businesses are responding, I think you can't go on a webinar without either people mentioning skills or AI. And, for me, for us, the reason we say skills are so important is ultimately we need to add an extra dimension to how we think about work. So it's no longer just about what work we're doing. We really need to focus in on how that work is being done. And here's a great line I like from Forbes, and they're saying half of all skills will be outdated within 2 years. Just think about that. Think about the pace of change. Think about what that means for keeping your workforce current as we go through this accelerating pace of innovation. So next, if we look at where do we ultimately gain skills. We understand that, look, here's the business agenda. We need to focus on skills. We need to think about how our employees, our workforce, gain those skills. I don't think you could have worked in talent without coming across this model. It's known as the 70-20-10 model. I'm sure for a lot of practitioners on the webinar today, you'll be very familiar with that. What's really interesting is the satellite delay. The satellite delay between when talent professionals really identify with something and when it makes its way through to the boardroom. And certainly this is a message that's really resonating in the boardroom when we talk about why we need to invest in talent. And for me, the key thing is 70% of our learning is done on the job. So ultimately, if you think about that and you want employees to gain new skills, you need to be putting them in the place where they're getting the experience to ultimately turn those individual skills into team capabilities. So that all sounds great. There's a lot of businesses out there focusing on building up their skills taxonomies, the list of skills that they have in their business and their skills ontologies, how they relate to particular jobs, particular people, particular content, with a view to maximizing the rate at which their workforce gains skills. However, if we look at the next slide, there's three fundamental challenges that I think the market's really having to start to wake up to. And those three things are, there's no such thing as leisure learners. So ultimately, we're all really busy. If it's going to compete for some of my time, I need to be motivated to do that. Secondly, if the business is going to get behind it and really adopting skills, if you like, as the common thread throughout everything you do in talent, HR can't be pushing that. The business needs to be pulling that. The business needs to become the sponsor of this focused on skills. Thirdly, it's really important that anything we do in the world of talent is no longer just for the top tier. Ultimately, it's for the workforce as a whole. We need to take everybody with us on that journey. So ultimately, we're all looking at AI to help with some of that heavy lifting. But ultimately, AI does need data, and in this case, it's skills data, really, for it to be able to do that heavy lifting for us. Now, that's where I think why business leaders and talent professionals are really focusing in on the talent marketplace, because it is the magic key. Because if you think about it, what's it doing for the workforce? First of all, it's showing me where, if I invest my time in learning, the potential for me as a person, where I can grow to be, the different career paths that will open up to me, things that I thought I might never be involved with. Actually, they might just be one or two key capabilities away that I could work on, both by myself and as part of a team and on some gigs and with some mentors, really to bridge those quite quickly. So suddenly you're harnessing my self-motivation. I'm no longer a leisure learner. I'm now somebody who is activated to grow so that I can pursue that potential that's been made very, very clear to me. Secondly, what's in it for the business? It's really simple. Lots of companies are looking at setting up what I call frontier initiatives, small project teams where basically they're looking to innovate what they think is going to be big in their marketplace. They need talent, and they need talent with the right skills, people who know how to do the things that they need to do. So ultimately, talent marketplaces are the direct vehicle for giving the business something that they need, that group of individuals that can basically resource these strategically important frontier initiatives. Last of all, now that I've got the employees engaged, I've got the business engaged, I'm no longer going to have to pull people towards their skills passports. They're going to be actively filling those in because it's all part of a bigger journey. So first of all, that's why talent marketplaces are so important. So if we carry on, the second thing is, what are the key themes? Well, if we look at some key research that Cornerstone did in 2023 around talent maturity, ready, set, grow, there were 3 key initiatives or 3 key focus points that came away for in terms of how you get talent mobility working in your business. The first of those was consumer experience connection. What do I mean by that? This is what Netflix, Amazon Prime are very good at doing. They sort of are very good at building a connection, as is social media, with in terms of the content they want us to consume and the content that we go on to consume and our longevity in doing that. Secondly, if we're going to be encouraging people to look at new career paths, we're going to need more than rearward facing performance management, as I call it. We're going to need our line managers to step up to what I would call line mentors, somebody who's really going to sit alongside you and go with you on that journey as you look to maximize your personal potential. Last of all, we're going to need some technology, but perhaps not for the reason we might all first think it. Yes, we're going to need some technology to help us scale, but technology can do so much more than that. It can really signpost to the business that actually the business, I was talking about getting this business mandate, is really bought into this idea of investing in skills, becoming a skills-based organization. So if we push on, I think for me, there's an opportunity there, I should say, that if you want to find out any more about that research that we did in partnership with Lighthouse, I'll give you a second. There is a code that you can use to quickly download that report. Okay, moving on. So if we go back to that 70-20 10 model, how does that sort of look to break down in terms of technology we see in the marketplace? So first of all, if we look at the next, it's ultimately that 10% is dealt with by what I would call traditional learning management systems, the push capability in our tech stack. The key thing is where the gap is that chance to address the 70-20-10, sorry, the 70-20 with social and self-directed learning. So if we look at what are the sort of the additional capabilities that we might want to layer on top of our LMS, there's 2 key additions, and I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of these. First of all, the LXP, that's all there to design to make that connection, to start getting your workforce to pull content, to pull learning as they look to go on this future career path. But critically, talent, the talent marketplace is mapped directly onto the 70. That's how ultimately you get your employees to turn the skills that they've started to build into capabilities that are going to drive your workforce forward. So if we look at what that ultimately means, I often think that LXP is great for upskilling and OMP is great for reskilling. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Paul, who's really going to show you how what Cornerstone are doing to deliver against that vision, against 70-20-10. Paul, across to you.
Great, thank you, Dom. So let's just start sharing, and hopefully you can all see my screen. What I'm going to walk you through is really that last element that Dominic was really just talking about with the 70 reskilling area, and I'm going to focus really on our opportunity marketplace, our talent marketplace for employees to really go out and find their own potential opportunities that exist within your organizations. So first of all, what we have is obviously the page you can see here. And the great thing about what the system does is it will understand a little bit about you, basically just from the job role that you do here. So as you can see, my user here is a what we call a junior solution consultant. So just here, they're in that particular job role, and that means that the system understands a little bit about them because they know what job they're in, and that can identify the types of skills that someone is likely to have from being in that job role. However, what each employee can do is set up and enhance that knowledge that it has by creating their own career profile. So there's a couple of key things that will really help drive the system's knowledge of an individual and then start helping them with the opportunities that are available. Is they can start by loading up their CV. So they can simply just load up a CV into the system, and then it will start to parse that information out of their profile and populate it, as you can see here. Now, the clever thing that it's doing once it's pulled all that information out of the CV is it can start to then identify, using the AI that's been built into the system, what type of skills somebody is likely to have based upon their previous work histories, the current job roles. All of that type of information is able to be derived from that CV. Now, it gives me the opportunity to say yes or no. Maybe I'm not quite such an advanced customer retention person, or my personal skills are maybe not quite as advanced as I might think. So I can adjust those down if I want to and add them in. I can also then start to see any skills the system is suggesting that I have. So it can infer other types of skills I might have just by the experiences I have, the length of time I've spent in any of those particular job roles. And I can say what level I'm at that I think I'm at. So I can update that and save that. And that's great for the system. It understands a little bit more about me, what type of skills I've got, what kind of experiences I have. And then I can also put in things that AI is not really able to derive from a CV. Things about career preferences I might have for myself. So, what kind of job level do I want to work at? Do I want to work in an office? Do I want to be full-time, part-time? Or do I want to have any kind of management responsibilities as well? So the more the system then understands a little bit about me, the better the opportunity it has to make recommendations to me about opportunities available within the organization. And what the talent marketplace has here is sort of four key things that will walk people through. So job roles. So this is job families, job positions that you may have within your organization. We'll take a feed of those from your HR platforms, so we can understand what that looks like for each individual customer. We also have job vacancies. So these are live jobs. So effectively, we're going to do an integration from anyone's recruitment platform. So their ATS will feed us all their live jobs so we can make recommendations about those as well. Also, the opportunity to put in place projects, so short-term gigs, assignments that people may want to go on. And within those gigs, what you're able to do is potentially learn new skills that you might need to progress to the next opportunity you'd like to move into. And then you also have mentorships as well. So you've got key people within the business who might have skills that could help you develop your skills in the way that you would like to for your career. Now, how do we then present all of this information? So one of the key things we have is our career exploration page. So this is what we call our galaxy view. And so every individual sits in the middle of their own galaxy. So they can then start to identify and see what potential opportunities there are out there within the organization they're working at. So from my perspective, I'm sat here in a junior solution consultant role, and I can see there are actually a couple of really good potential opportunities for me to move into next. So, a senior role, maybe a director role. But the great thing is, that might be the linear career path for me, but I also have opportunities to see other places within the organization I could move. So in this case, operational roles or customer success roles or project management roles over here. So I can see, actually, maybe I'd like to move into customer success. What do I have to do to be able to get there? So if I do see an opportunity that looks interesting to me, I can start to understand a little bit more about what that job role might be. So in this case, it's recommending that I'm actually a pretty good fit for this role. I've got a lot of the right skills required for it, and I can understand a little bit more about what that job role might be. So I can read the description of what that role might be, and I can then start to understand, why is it giving me a good match potentially? What are the features that I have? I've got the right skills, career preferences, etc. All of these kind of things are green for me. So I'm identified as a pretty good match. And then I can start to see what paths I might take within our organization to get to that particular point. So in this case, you can see it's giving me 3 different routes potentially to get to the senior solution consulting role. And what you may notice over here on the right hand side is that based upon that path I may want to go along, here are potential pieces of learning that I could take. Here are projects I could join, which could teach me those skills. And here are mentors that I could pick up along the way. So I can quickly identify people like Jonathan as a mentor for me. There's a project here about mentoring and leading great teams, which I could join as well. And all of these things can then start to make recommendations of learning and other sort of opportunities that could help me. Now I can start to choose different paths through there. And then the system will adjust to reflect what different paths I might take. And obviously, if I'm trying to go for a totally separate role in marketing or customer success, all of this information will change to be relevant for what opportunities I may be looking to move into. Now, I can also see other people who exist within this role. So if I want to follow any of them and get some advice from them, easy for me to do. Similar type of jobs that are actually live. So these are maybe potentially real vacancies that are live on our recruitment system. I can actually go through and I can apply for those. So we'll just act as that job board to point people to the recruitment system. I've also got other elements that are sort of displayed here. So you can see it sort of saying I can set my own learning goals if I want to maybe focus my development on certain areas, or if I've missed some of these, add them to my passport. But if I'd like to grow some of those skills as well, I can quickly see all of the different types of skills potentially I might need to develop for my next career path that I'm going to move down. And I can start to pick and choose any of these as sort of areas where maybe I'd like to work on problem solving. So I can start to see, 12 of those courses that could be a really good fit and help me develop the skills that I need to as well. I also see various different projects that I may want to be part of that could help me develop those particular skills. And also I've got mentors as well who I could request from here if Jeff would be my mentor if I thought he was going to be the right person to help me develop those skills. So it's simple for me to go through and find any of those particular courses, and I can click into any of those and begin taking them. Or if I'm interested maybe in for working on a particular project, then it's simple for me to come in, understand a little bit more about what that project might look like, some of those related skills that it's going to be teaching me. And I can also see other job roles. And if I want to just apply for that particular project, and I think I've got 6 hours per week to spend on this, then I can apply to that straight away. So really sort of simple, nice, engaging interfaces to help me get and find the projects and all the other activities that could really help me develop my career as well. Just one other quick final thing, really, just with those jobs, just to sort of touch on how that works is, again, the AI is recommending the ones that are best and the closest match for me. And I can see all of these other jobs that may exist within our organization. And if I do want to go ahead and make an application, then it's a very simple process for me, again, to read what that vacancy looks like. Again, all of that information is pulling through from the applicant tracking system. Again, I can grow all of my skills if I want to sort of help me with a successful application that I'm going to make. And then if I want to apply, then I can just hit the apply button and it launches me straight off to that particular job. But what I also get is a system making recommendations to me and saying, actually, here's some learning that could help you, and you can add those pieces of learning to my learning plan. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea about what we've got available. And I'll pause now and hand it back over to the team.
Thanks very much, Paul, for that sort of like whistle-stop tour introduction to what Cornerstone are doing with their talent marketplace. We've gone at quite a pace today. First question, really, why are business leaders so interested in talent marketplaces? For me, in one line, that would be it's really how you go from good to great. With accelerating the pace of building skills in your business. And that's just so important as we look to address that macro business environment that we talked about. Next up is really, okay, if we're going to invest in a talent marketplace, where do we need to focus? Three main takeaways there: consumer grade connection, line manager to line mentor. And finally, using technology, one, to help with the heavy lifting, but also really to signal to the business that this is something that's really important to the future, the path that we're taking. So I'm just going to pause for a second there to see if there are any questions, Yvonne, that you'd like us to quickly answer.
So nothing has come through, but I will say to those watching, if you do have questions, please use either the chat function or the Q&A, and we'll monitor both. And as hopefully you are doing that, I know we're getting very close to the end of the webinar, and there was a couple of things I just wanted to pop up on screen here for you as well. So as I'm talking, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat there. So the first thing I wanted to sort of look at is what's happening or coming up at Cornerstone for the moment, if I can get the presentation to move along. We have our ebook, which is our 2024 HR predictions, which does have a really nice section on talent mobility in there. So if you are interested in finding out a little bit about that, do use the QR code there on screen. And that goes into the 7 dimensions of talent health, which we identified last year in our talent health index. But it calls on customers, partners, corner stars for their opinions, their predictions, and their thoughts for this year we're in right now. The other thing I would like to talk to you about is learning technologies, which is coming up very quickly. In fact, this time next month, it will be done. So on the 17th and 18th of April at the Excel, we will be there front and center as you walk into the exhibition hall. So we'll have an AI photo booth. So if you want to get your picture taken, all looking glossy, a nice new LinkedIn headshot. I know I need one. So do pop along for that. But also, of course, we'll have our technology experts on hand. And we have a really exciting product launch while we're there. So keep an eye out and an ear out for what's going on around that over the next few weeks. And the final thing we'll bring to your attention for our customers on the call is that we have opened registration for Connect Live 2024. Really excited to be hosting again at our customer Chelsea Football Club at Stamford Bridge. So that's happening on June 4th. So do please come along and listen to a day of exciting sort of interactions, networking, thought leaders. Our executive leadership team will be there throughout the day. We'd love to see you there. Of course, some fun in the evening as well. But I don't think we have had any questions through yet. So I think you covered everything people needed to know, Dominic and Paul. So massive thank you to you. Thank you to those of you who've popped along today and hope this session was of interest. We have recorded and I will send the recording round over the next week or so. So you must watch out for that in your inboxes. But that's all there is to say from us. Thank you again.